So she was running her business on grants. And I thought that was really amazing, but they do help you build capacity. I think bringing grantees together helps you to build what it is you need to know so that you can be successful. Is that true across the board?
Yeah, that's a good point, and this is probably a good slide to talk about that on too, because sometimes the government grants, you tend to have a healthy nonprofit, you tend to want three different streams of income, and that's just a kind of a side thing. You want to have donations from individuals or companies. You want to have grants from family foundations that are a little bit more flexible. And if you're providing direct services, you tend to want to have some government grants, because once you get into providing a government service, that's a much more consistent kind of increment of service delivery. And so the government funds, in terms of CDBG, which is Community Development Block Grant dollars, those flow through every community, and it's important to know. If I say something wonky or an acronym and you want to pause me, please stop, hold on, because I might I need to be called on it, because some of this language is a little wonky. But I will say that to get the first government grant, which tend to have a lot more rigor, because they have to be competitive most of the time, unless there's a solid reason where you can do a sole source contracting, which maybe we can talk about at a different date. But so to get the first one, you see smaller organizations actually usually partner with a little bit larger organization, because they can show that they have capacity and a track record. So that first year or two, when it's like a nonprofit that's just starting, or if it's a nonprofit that's been around for a while but's never gotten a government grant, then sometimes, if they have a track record, it's usually a little bit easier. But if they're new, then you tend to want to partner with another larger organization, because you're going to be dealing with different reporting requirements that you might not be used to. Or if you're not going to go that route, like Dr. Runga shared, there's technical assistance that you should count on to support you, so that you're tracking things in the right way. But maybe that's more on the grant management side too. So if I deviate, Dr. Runga.
No problem.
Okay.
Just that help is there, assistance is there.
Yeah.
So it's not just to get something off the ground, it can also be used for
And I would
assistance to keep something that you already got going.
Oh, yeah.
That's a great point. There's some people that apply for grants because they want to try something new in community, that they want to partner with volunteers, that they want to start an initiative. And there's other folks that have been doing some work and body of work for a while. They've been doing it for a long time, and they've never received funding. And so how do we inject funding and investment into those efforts to have them be more impactful? It really could go both ways. What's probably not anybody that is going to take on a social issue, though, I think really should do the homework in the basis of the social issue and understand the services that go along with it, particularly if there are services that impact vulnerable populations. So you wouldn't want to necessarily go after a grant that's going to do, something related to child services if you don't know the laws and the requirements around providing that kind of service, right? Or if you want to do reentry services, but you don't have any experience within the reentry necessarily space, right? So you want to kind of deal within, I just think that that's helpful. And that's also the difference between organizations that chase the money and organizations that stay true to their mission.
That's wild. So nonprofits.
Go ahead. Oh shoot, is this not the answer? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. So let me talk. Oh no, it popped up. Okay, good. Okay. So Let me share a little bit about identifying funding opportunities. One resource is grants.gov. That's a great resource for a whole bunch of different grants. But that's not necessarily the one that I see most people use in Washington. That grants.gov is probably more for like a Goodwill or a larger organization. In Washington State, you probably want to look at the United Ways. You would want to look at webs. Washington State has a website where they put on all of the competitive solicitations for funding, and you set up an account, and you say, hey, this is the kind of work that I do, and if there's contract work related to that, send me a notification, and I can see if I'm eligible or interested in applying to it. Also, the cities, you can go to every city of Tacoma, city of Lakewood. Every year, they'll do community development block grants, and they'll put out a bucket of funds to do a particular body of work, and you can see if your project or your initiative fits into that.
Block grants?
Block grants. Mm-hmm. And Jasmine, yeah.
Now, I noticed with like the community development block grant that came up for Tacoma, I was advised it's like the reporting requirements are really onerous. There's a lot of interviewing and grant writing, and you're going to put a lot of time into this, and it might not work. Even if you get the money, the amount of effort you have to put into getting that money and reporting to them and getting paid is enough that maybe don't go for that this year, go for some other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to know how to make that kind of decision. Whether or not it's like, instead of me trying to apply for everything and killing myself to do all that and keep up with all the grant reporting, how do you make a wise decision about what you should go for?
That's a great question. One thing that I try to do is on projects that I'm going to be working and writing a lot of grants on, like Dr. Arunga shared, you might have one initiative or one project, but it takes multiple grants to kind of pull it all together. What I try to do is have a language document for my grant, for basically my project. And then I'll use the same template in terms of how I talk about it, what the goals are, what the KPIs are, how I'll do, and I'll run that same grant in different grants. So I'm not changing up everything for each writer, because it's not like you're submitting the essay to different teachers, right? You're submitting like a body of work, and you're getting a number of folks to fund that body of work.
Okay.
If you think about it in that way, then you're not moving outside of your purpose of what you want to do in terms of a program, and the program elements should stay the same, so you don't have to rewrite it every time. You might, and what I've done is sometimes grants will ask for, hey Kendra, sometimes grants will ask for certain questions unique to that organization, and you're writing the second year. I just add those questions down at the bottom, and I'll keep a whole long list of a 30-page document of questions related to my project, and I'll just keep running that the same every time, so that you maximize and you really focus on what's the best way to serve my community. And I think if you think about it in that way, and you think about the KPIs related, then you look at the grant and see, does this support what I'm trying to do?
Acronym. KPI?
Key performance indicator.
Thank you.
Yep. So we were, matter of fact, Kendra, we were asking one of the, how many of you have tried writing a grant before? Raise your hand, and if you could share a little bit about that.
Yes, absolutely. I have been Kendra Jones. I am the CEO and founder of KJ Jones Consulting. I do a lot of work around reentry and workforce development. I have it'll be 2 years since I have started my business in March. And I believe it's been about 5 grants that I've been able to write. Highest one being about 150,000. But as to Corbett's point, I'm using that first template, that I had, and just being able to plug in the information, and knowing your sections, it gets easier and easier. If you think of an outline for like your essay, right? If you're still in school, I am a Sankofa, so learn a lot there. But yeah, so just using that same template as your tool, and knowing that, the research that you're doing, I have a passion for what I do, so those are the grants that I go for. And it's easier to write on something that you have a passion for than something that's brand new to you. It's almost like that research, aspect. But when you zone in and hone in on that one particular thing that you are professional in or expert in, it gets easier and easier as you go.
I think Dr. Hardiman in one of her classes had said that very same thing about how you can use something that you're passionate about and just spread that over a wide array of whatever you're trying to get into.
Yep.
Or whatever, like you can really take that and it's not necessarily about what it says so much as if they can really see the work and passion that's put behind this new thing that's going, how much traction there might be, and I can't.
How many grants have you written? You said 5?
I believe so.
When was that this year?
Within, yeah, 24.
What's the total amount?
Oof. Maybe a little over 500,000, getting closer to
On your
it.
first year?
Yes.
Hey.
Yes. Great teachers.
So the research side, understanding where to find the grants, I think is important. Let me actually go to web so you can see what it looks like. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna send this out, or if you want to share it, I made a little folder. And I put a number of resources on here in terms of resources that assist with contracting and grant opportunities. And the first one in there is webs. But there's others. You can look at each of the state agencies. You can also look at Fund Hub WA that has some other things related to energy, clean energy, and things that I think is really good. And then the Small Business Resiliency Network. Let me cover these 3 real quick. So webs is where, actually, let me go ahead and log